Good evening. My name is Michael Schmidt. I'm chairman of the Kentucky Public Service Commission. Welcome to this public meeting. Seated to my right is Vice Chairman Robert Cicero, and to my left, Commissioner Talina Matthews. We are accompanied by several members of the Public Service Commission staff this evening. They are Executive Director Gwen Pinson, who incidentally is from Martin County, and I don't think Gwen is here yet. She had a speech in Louisville earlier today. Christine Smith, Mary Beth Purvis, Jeb Penny, and Jim Rhodes. We're here for the purpose of taking public comment on the application of Kentucky Power Company for approval of an adjustment in rates and a certificate of public convenience and necessity. The case number is 2017-00179. If you were here for the earlier informational session, you heard about this application in greater detail and also received an explanation of how the Public Service Commission will go about reaching a decision in this case. If you missed the presentation, it will be available on the Public Service Commission website, which is psc.ky.gov. This is the first of 3 public meetings the Public Service Commission will conduct to receive public comments in this matter. We're holding meetings next week in Hazard on Monday and in Ashland on Wednesday. We understand that any matter that affects electricity rates is likely to produce strong and differing opinions. We trust that everyone here this evening will present their comments in a respectful manner and respect the right of everyone to be heard. Now let me explain how we will proceed for the remainder of this event. We are here to listen to the public. Therefore, there will be no presentations by Kentucky Power or any of the other parties to this case, nor will there be any question and answer period involving these parties. The Commission will be taking sworn testimony from them in a forthcoming evidentiary hearing. Allowing questions and answers on the record as a part of this proceeding creates the potential for procedural problems later in this process. However, representatives of Kentucky Power Company have agreed to remain here after the conclusion of public comments to meet informally with anyone who has any individual questions they wish the company to address. Those of you wishing to speak should have indicated your intention to do so when you signed in this evening. If you have not signed in and wish to speak, please do so now. Whether or not you intend to speak, it would be helpful to us to know if you are here, so you may go ahead and sign in now if you haven't already. Based on the number of people who've indicated a desire to speak, we're going to allow 3 to 5 minutes at least, and if you want to take 5 minutes, that's fine. What you'll probably find out is that many other people who have signed up and speak before you may have said essentially the same thing. So in past public comment sessions, some people have said, well, Mr. So-and-so said this and I agree because, or sometimes one person may speak and be very articulate, and another may yield time to that person again, depending on what it is. So if everyone has a maximum of 5 minutes, we ought to be able to get through in a reasonable period of time, and everyone would have an opportunity to be heard. Our timekeeper will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining on your time. Those of you who do not wish to speak may submit comments in writing. We have comment forms available, and you may turn those in tonight to a member of the Public Service Commission staff, or mail or fax them to the Public Service Commission. The address and phone number are on the forms. You may also submit comments by email through the Public Service Commission website, psc.ky.gov. I want to also say that up until today, when I left Frankfort, we had received about 150 letters from residential customers and public officials who reside or serve within the Kentucky Power Company service area. And I can guarantee you that one or all of us will have read every one of those comments before the case is decided. As you can see, this meeting is being videotaped, and the tape will be available on the PSC website. A summary of the public comments received tonight will be prepared for the Public Service Commission and will become a part of the record in the case, which is also available on the website. All written comments also will be entered in the record. Written comments will be accepted through the date of the formal evidentiary hearing in this case. That hearing, during which Kentucky Power and other parties will present their cases to the Public Service Commission and be subject to cross-examination, will begin at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, December 6th, at the Public Service Commission offices at 211 Sauer Boulevard in Frankfort, Kentucky, and may last several days. It is open to the public and will be streamed live on the Public Service Commission website. 3 important things to keep in mind before we begin. Because the commissioners must rule on the Kentucky Power Company application, we cannot answer questions pertaining to the substance of the case. However, questions you raise during this meeting may well be of assistance to the PSC and its staff as we prepare for the evidentiary hearing. And Public Service Commission staff will be available after the public comments are concluded to answer any questions you may have regarding the procedural matters in this case. The Public Service Commission has jurisdiction only over the rates and services of utilities. We have no jurisdiction over matters such as environmental standards or public health. Those are regulated by a number of federal, state, and local agencies. Therefore, the most helpful comments are those that directly address the merits of the Kentucky Power proposal with respect to the size and structure of the requested rate adjustment and the reasons for the adjustment. If you have concerns or questions about service or billing for individual accounts, the most effective way to have those addressed is to speak with a member of the Public Service Commission staff after this meeting or call our toll-free consumer hotline, 800-772-4636, during regular business hours. Now, when you come up to speak, please state your name and place of residence. And again, keep your comments to the allotted time so that others may have an opportunity to address the Commission. Now, but when we start, it has always been our practice to allow public officials, elected officials, to speak first. And we have several public officials here this evening, and I will call them off in the order that they have signed up, beginning with our host public official here this evening, County Judge Executive Ben Hale. Judge Hale, would you care to address the Commission?
You want me? My name is Ben Hale. I'm Floyd County Judge Executive. I live at Blue River, Kentucky. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the Public Service Commission for convening and granting my request of this public hearing in Kentucky Power Service Territory so that the Commission can hear firsthand from the citizens that will be impacted by this devastating rate increase. As Floyd County Judge Executive, I am asking the Public Service Commission to fully reject AEP's Kentucky Power $64 million, 16% or 15% rate increase for the roughly 168,000 customers in the 20-county service area. The last decade has been a challenging time for the economy of eastern Kentucky. The assault on coal industry has resulted in the loss of many coal-related jobs. Counties of Kentucky Power Service Territory has some of the highest poverty rates in Kentucky and the nation. And many have left the region to find employment elsewhere, and many of those who chose to stay are on fixed incomes and cannot afford, nor should they be expected to make up for the Kentucky Power's lost revenue. Kentucky Power has yet to adequately demonstrate how it is reducing costs before placing all the burden on our customers. It is ridiculous, obscene, and unconscionable to expect Kentucky Power's customers to be asked to make Kentucky Power whole for the decline in the economy when Kentucky Power is one of the main contributors for such a loss in their service territory. Kentucky Power says they need a rate increase to make up for the loss of customers and the general decline in electrical use, as well as the cost of dismantling the Big Sandy 2 facility. There is no logic in this argument. It is a downward spiral. Higher rates mean many customers will be forced to find ways to use less electricity or turn to other sources of energy. Kentucky Power brags about promoting economic development, but higher rates will make eastern Kentucky less competitive to attract new industry or encourage business expansion. As the economy continues to decline from the lack of coal production and sales, will Kentucky Power come back in a year or two and ask for another rate increase? The rates they are requesting will take $64 million a year out of the pockets of our customers as well as the local economy. Higher rates will not contribute to the economic recovery of Eastern Kentucky, but will hinder diversification from the coal economy to other industries and businesses. Sadly, if this increase is granted, Kentucky Power would have the highest base rates in the entire state. Eastern Kentucky would be paying the most. All of this is happening when we're struggling to recruit those industries and businesses. In order for us as a region to compete and diversify our economy, we should be the least expensive, not the highest. It appears that Kentucky Power is asking for these rate increases in order for their shareholders to maintain the same level of profits they have been receiving. All the while, this is being put on the backs of those who can least afford. Since 2005, Kentucky Power has been granted 3 rate increases of almost 6% a year for residential customers for over a total of 51% more. They were given permission to shut down our largest power plant, the Big Sandy 2, which meant the loss of over 2 million tons a year in sales of Central Appalachian Kentucky coal. The loss of 150 direct jobs at the plant, as well as all the jobs lost that are related and ancillary jobs that are associated with those sales. To replace it, Kentucky customers were asked to take a 50% interest in almost an identical plant in Moundsville, West Virginia that had already been paid for by AEP's Ohio utility customers. Kentucky Power is not a standalone company. It's a subsidiary of American Electric Power. Expenses of Kentucky Power are supposed to provide adequate electric service, but profits flow to AEP. AEP is one of the largest electric utilities in the U.S., 5.4 million customers in 11 states. In this case, Kentucky Power is attempting to coerce its customers even to pay for corporate aviation costs. Kentucky Power customers do not understand why they're being asked to pay for more of their electricity while the CEO of AEP made over $11 million in annual compensation for 2016, and AEP stock has doubled in value since that Kentucky Power rate last in 2014. All the while, Eastern Kentucky citizens are being forced to cut spending in their own households. Kentucky Power wants to continue to spend away and place their burden on an already impoverished group of people. I implore the Commission to think about the people who can least afford this rate increase. The big corporations seem to have a stronger voice now in Frankfort and in the federal government than our people here in Central Appalachian has. You have a responsibility and opportunity to aid the people who are suffering and who need your help. Let's not reward corporate greed, but hold them accountable. I respectfully ask this Commission to deny the rate increase request by Kentucky Power, AEP, in its entirety. I close with a quote by the Attorney General, Andy Beshear. I ask that AEP, that they implement stronger controls on spending and decrease the amount of funds its shareholders receive. And I appreciate your time, Mr. Chairman.
Next, the State Representative Larry Brown from Prestonsburg has signed up to speak. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and address you all regarding this rate increase. You know, the term I've heard tonight and before I got here was a reasonable rate of return on an investment. Now, I enjoy and I champion business, but when you're trying to make your reasonable rate of return on people who's basically been economically destroyed because of the coal industry or the lack thereof here in the last few years, I think it's too harsh. I don't think we need to be making this, trying to make this rate increase upon their shoulder, dumping all this on their shoulders. I was thinking about something I wanted to say about competition. We don't have competition here for our electrical power, our power grid here. We need to be able to do something about that in some respect, to be able to maybe allow us to go someplace else if we need to. But to allow a rate increase at this point in time especially is extremely harsh on our citizens. You know, I'm a Republican by my registration. I'm a conservative in my heart. I'll have people here on the other side of the aisle from the legislature who I would like to think be joining me in this effort of wanting to condemn is an ugly word, but at least strongly recommend that this rate increase not be allowed to go through. Because our people here have endured enough economic hardship. And when people having to make a decision about whether they want to buy their medication or their food or have to pay their electric bill and can't do either or have to make that choice each month, it's harsh. Mr. Schmidt, I know you're from here. You know what it's like here. You've practiced law a number of years here. I practiced law for 36 years here. I've seen it come. I've seen good times and I've seen bad times. We're in as bad a time right now in economic development as there is. I understand that Kentucky Power may be joining in and doing some economic development here, which I appreciate. But as far as a rate increase that's going across to our citizens, we just cannot afford it right now. And I'm imploring you to please deny the rate increase that's been asked for at this point in time. And that's all I've got to say. I'm here for the people of Floyd County and in the 95th District and in Pike County as well, asking you to please give serious consideration to the economic impact it will have on these people and deny this rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you. State Senator Ray Jones from Pikeville.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, first of all, let me thank you for being here in Eastern Kentucky to hear testimony on an issue that will affect literally hundreds of thousands of people in the AEP service area. This proposed rate increase will affect every man, woman, and child in this region and every business. I'm an AEP customer. I pay residential service and I pay service at my business. I have seen these rates continue to increase. Unfortunately, we have people throughout Eastern Kentucky who simply cannot absorb any additional costs in terms of their utility bills. And when you see AEP requesting a company that has an absolute monopoly on electric service in its service area with no competition, requesting a 10.3% guaranteed profit in light of a region that has suffered the most harsh economic circumstances in my lifetime, for sure. We would have to go back many decades to see an economy this bad in Eastern Kentucky. We have thousands of people who have even been laid off since AEP's last rate increase in 2015, which I think the number was around $45 million. And let me just preface my hopefully brief remarks with my criticism is not of the rank and file men and women who work for the power company. There are a lot of fine men and women who work hard that we all depend on when we lose service in the winter. It's a dangerous job. But what I believe, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, is that you have a corporate hierarchy that is out of touch with what's taking place. Giving a rationale for this rate increase of the fact that they've lost customers. Well, let me tell you, every business in Eastern Kentucky has lost customers. Whether it's a grocery store, when you see companies like Walmart intervene, people have lost business. People have had to leave the region. And this rate increase is not just going to affect the commercial and residential users. It's going to have an impact on our local governments, our cities and counties. For instance, I just found out a couple weeks ago that the Pike County Fiscal Court is going to have to absorb another $685,000 increase on their pension contributions. This will absolutely be another arrow that will be shot at our local governments because they're going to have to absorb these costs. Many of our school districts have lost the unmined minerals tax. I use my home county as Pike County as an example. They've lost $2.4 million in unmined mineral tax revenue over the last 2 years. Another $2 million in lost SEEK funding because the school district has lost about 250 students per year. Not to account for the fact that our property tax collections in our home county have gone from 94 to 95% down into the 70s. The reason people aren't able to pay their property taxes is they don't have the money. And to see the power company come in and ask for a substantial 16% rate increase in these economic circumstances is not fair, just, or reasonable. It's completely out of touch with what's taking place here. And I'm afraid that if this continues, in light of the other economic problems the region's facing, they're going to be back here in a year or two saying, well, we've lost more customers. We need another rate increase. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I'm not going to reiterate what Judge Hale said. He gave you the statistics, the numbers. But let me give you some examples of some of the arrogance that I have seen from some of their corporate hierarchy. When you flip on Facebook and you see officials from Kentucky Power at the Paris, France Air Show. I've never been to Europe. I'd say a lot of people here, but never had the opportunity. They're at the Paris, France Air Show. And when they award grants to our local governments, that's great. They just awarded a grant to the city of Pikeville. The question is, if the municipalities and county governments were not paying the rates that we're paying, would they have money to do other things in terms of economic development? Then when you go over to the Greenbrier Classic Golf Tournament and the former president, then president of Kentucky Power, is playing in the Pro-Am, and I can tell you from my research that to play in a Pro-Am at a professional golf tournament, that doesn't come cheap. Then when you see the power company sponsoring the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and funding its business agenda, you know, you have to ask yourself, how, if they're hurting so bad for money, maybe they need to look internally. I went over to the airport in Frankfurt one day. Some of us will drive over there during the session. There's 3 business jets sitting on the tarmac, and I asked one of the gentlemen at the fixed-based operator there, who are these? Who flew in 3 jets? Oh, that's AEP. They're here for meetings. Well, it's not very far from Columbus to Frankfurt, and to have to fly 2 or 3 large business jets, we're paying for that. And it is a culture, in my opinion, at the top level of AEP and Kentucky Power that's out of touch with what's taking place here. If these rates go forward, it will be a huge, huge burden on the ratepayers, both residential and the consumers, but also on our county governments, our school districts. And I'll give you this. A few weeks ago, several of us representatives and senators met with a group of superintendents from across eastern Kentucky. Floyd County, Magoffin County, Letcher County, Pike County, throughout this region. All of these schools are in dire financial straits because of the loss of students and the loss of tax revenue and the declining tax collection. Guess what? This will be another 16% burden if it is awarded on top of what all these schools, which absolutely incur large power bills. And every time that they incur more and more costs, Mr. Chairman, it means teachers being laid off. It means larger class sizes. There's a ripple effect about what's taking place here. And I am imploring the members of this commission. You know, in past, and I'm very happy to see the members of this commission here, I filed legislation to create an elected public service commission. I have felt in the past that the PSC turned a deaf ear. I don't believe that this commission will do that. I think, Mr. Chairman, I've known you for more than 20 years. I know what kind of man you are, and I know that you're going to listen to the evidence and make a wise decision. But at some point, the members of the General Assembly need to band together, and we need to change the law that allows the power companies, whether it's here or other places, to ask for just perpetual rate increases when every other business doesn't have that same opportunity. Instead of trying to be more efficient and trying to spend their money wisely, when you see them flying people to the Paris Air Show, it makes me question why we should have to support that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Angie Hatton. Ms. Hatton's a state representative from what, Pike, Letcher, and others.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you all for coming down here and listening to us. We appreciate it. We need it. We need you to hear us tonight, and thank you for having me. I do represent all of Letcher County and 17 precincts in Pike County. My district has some of the poorest people in this state. Some of I've forgotten the exact statistic right now, but the number of us who are below the poverty line are higher in this region than anywhere else that AEP is servicing. So what we're here to talk about tonight is what is fair and just and reasonable. That's what I understood from the very entertaining video that we got to watch earlier. Jeb Penny is a law school classmate of mine and good friend, and I think he did a great job in a tough circumstance. But anyway, so as others here today are going to tell you, This is an issue that affects every one of us. It affects every man, woman, child, and as Representative Brown said, it affects Republicans and Democrats. It affects young and old. Every single one of us here is going to be hurt. All of our families are going to be hurt. All our businesses are going to be hurt. And everyone here is struggling now to make ends meet. This is going to take money away from our schools. It's going to harm our local businesses and our economic growth at a time when we need jobs more than ever. And it's funny that because so many businesses have closed and so many people have been laid off and been forced to move away, that now we have to pay more in our electric rates because of that. So the poorest people are paying the most, and that isn't fair or just or reasonable. So like many of you have already heard the sad stories about people who are struggling to pay electric bills or their medicine, electric bills or their rent, electric bills or groceries. I've got so many stories from my district that I could sit and recount to you. I bet a lot of them are in those letters you've already gotten. That's not fair, just, or reasonable either. And it's beyond ironic that this region that for 2 centuries has kept the power on in this country, for us to now be struggling to pay our own power bills. The irony is not fair, just, or reasonable. So this determination is also about how many of AEP's customers in Eastern Kentucky live at or below the poverty line, as we've talked about. These people are living paycheck to paycheck. In some cases, they're living credit card to credit card. They're paying their electric bills with their credit cards, running up their debt even further. And the electricity costs are chief among what my bankruptcy clients tell me they're paying on these credit cards. So we have to ask how many of these people would lose their homes or their basic services if this is approved. How many of them are going to turn to the state for help and benefits at a time when the state itself is facing major cuts? So I understand that the Kentucky Power Division has lost customers. I understand that they have to provide the same power in the same area as before. I actually do understand that. I understand that their profits are cut. And I understand that they want to make profits. That's what businesses do. All of our businesses. I own a business. I want to make a profit. But in this case, they don't have any competition. And they're guaranteed certain rates of returns that other businesses aren't. They're asking for 10.3% rate of return when our teachers are getting 1.5% increase in cost of living if they're lucky. Yeah, and not for 3 years under the new proposal. So that is what businesses do. They want to make a profit. There's nothing wrong with a business wanting to make a profit. But we have you to protect us from them making a profit on the backs of people who cannot afford to help them pay for it. AEP's stock price has almost tripled since 2009. It's risen by a fifth in the last year or so alone. But apparently that's not enough. They're asking for another $63 million. I talked to my local optometrist this morning, and she was telling me that the increase they're asking for, that percentage, will be about $3,300 to her business next year. That's $3,300 she can't put back into our community. She can't put back into local stores and businesses because it's profit she won't have. Or she can pass those costs on to her customers. And it'll be the customers who work, the customers who have to pay for the optometry service, that'll end up paying for that. And that's not fair, just, or reasonable. And when you contrast that with the fact that AEP is asking us to pay for $388,356 worth of corporate jet travel, and you contrast that with people who cannot afford their medicine, it's not fair. It's not just. It's not reasonable. My people elected me to help them. I had no idea when I ran. I was talking about jobs and the war on drugs and all those sorts of things. I had no idea that 8 out of every 10 emails I receive would be about power bills. Can't afford them. I ask for more hearings because my people can't afford the hour-and-a-half car travel. They can't afford the gas. And a lot of it's because of their electric bills. Yet we want to give an increase to a company that can afford all this corporate jet travel and turn around and ask for that back. So I'm not going to be happy if they only get half of what they've asked for. I'm not going to be happy if they get a quarter. I'm not going to be happy unless their rate case is dismissed, unless there's a 0% increase. We've already had such high power bills last winter that people were in danger. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to be overdramatic. People's power was getting cut off. They were in danger, and winter's coming again. And it's at this time in January that they want to have a rate increase. So on behalf of my people, I'm asking you to please put a stop to it.
Thank you. State Representative Chris Harris from representing Pike and Martin County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission. Thank you all again. Like others have said, I want to thank you all for being here and being a part of. I'm a little taller than Angie. There you go. Can you hear me? Y'all hear me? Okay. Okay. Again, thank you for being here. I too asked to have more hearings than what we're actually going to be able to have. I understand your situation, that you can't just go around having hearings every day on this issue. But it is so important. It affects so many people, every person in my district, in my legislative district, this affects. And I had to drive through 2 legislative districts to get here tonight, and there's not a whole lot of my 43,000 people that I represent that are here, although a couple did make it. You know, it is so important, and it's something that affects every single person. And it affects them in such a way that it affects everything about their life. And those that it affects the most, those people that are living on the verge of society, they're not here tonight because they're struggling every day just to make ends meet. They're trying to get through to the next day, to the next meal, to the next paycheck, to the next whatever check, just to make ends meet, just to pay the power bill, just to pay for their medicine, just to feed their kids. And an additional raise on top of what has already been granted is just it's just impossible for these folks to do it. I have filed legislation in this past legislative session to require the PSC to go back and review the rate increase that you already gave Kentucky Power. Because it is the circumstances that it was granted under it's just impossible. I mean, people can't do it. The mission, and I'm not saying this for your all's sake as much as I am for the folks that are here, but the mission of the Kentucky Public Service Commission is to foster the provision of safe and reliable service at a reasonable price to the customers of jurisdictional utilities while providing for the financial stability of those utilities by setting fair and just rates and supporting their operational competence by overseeing the regulated activities. I know you all have heard that, but some of the folks here might not have heard that. But again, we're back to that fair, just, and reasonable rates. So, you know, there's always a story in the numbers. And if you follow the numbers of Kentucky Power over the last 10 or 15 years, you'll see a definite trend. And when I say this, I want to reiterate what Senator Jones said. There are so many great employees of Kentucky Power that they agree with a lot of what we're saying here today. They pay those bills too. And this is not intended to be a swipe at them in any way. But in 1990, the Public Service Commission ordered a base rate reduction for Kentucky Power. So that happened. It's not unprecedented. That can happen, and it has happened in the past. For 20 years, we went without a rate increase in Kentucky. 20 years went by, no rate increases for Kentucky Power. And then in 2005, the Kentucky Power president was named Tim Mosier. He came out and said, we haven't had a rate increase in a long time. We need 26%. We need a 26% rate increase. He didn't get to 26%, but he got 14%. That was the settlement. Then in 2009, a couple years later, he comes back and he says, well, that wasn't enough. We need an additional 34% increase. And he didn't get it, but he got 16%. And then you know what he did? He retired. And a new president came in, and the new president said, well, hey, he did that. His name was Greg Pauly. In 2013, he came on and said, I want a 31% increase in my rates. 31%. And the Public Service Commission said, no, you're not getting 31%, but we're going to give you all these riders. And that's when the riders started. So all the different riders that we see on our bills now, that's where those came into play. And then in 2014, he didn't get everything that he wanted, so he came back again and said, I want another 12.5% increase in my rates. And Public Service Commission didn't give him a 12.5% increase. They gave him a 9.9% increase in 2014. And then you know what he did? He retired. And now we have a new Kentucky president, Kentucky Power president, Matthew Satterwhite. And the first thing, he's been in office now in this position since November of 2016. He didn't waste any time. First thing he does is ask for a 12.5% increase in their rates. This is what we're dealing with. I mean, the stock price in 2005, when we had not had any rate increases in 20 years, was $35.25. Today it's $74.21, over 100% increase. The dividends in 2005, they were paying quarterly dividends of 35 cents a share, which was a good dividend. Now, the quarterly dividends are 59 cents a share, an increase of 70% in their dividends in addition to the stock price. These things, we don't need a team of economic development coordinators paid for out of our power bills. We want safe, reliable, bare bones electricity. That's what we want. We don't need all these other things that Kentucky Power is trying to do and that they're dumping on the customers. We want a simple, safe, secure service at the lowest cost. And I hope and pray that you all will help us keep that. Thank you all.
Now, are there any other elected public officials here who I've missed and who would like to speak? Okay. If not, Ashley Lafferty, you're signed up to speak. Would you like to speak? I hate to start this with you, but we're on a 5-minute limit.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to speak. I'd like to just say my name, as you know, Mike, is Ashley Tackett Lafferty, and I am here a local attorney. I work at Kirk Law Firm. I came here tonight mostly just to say that this rate increase is unfair, unjust, and unreasonable. At a time when the bedrock of this community is being squeezed of every dollar that it has been earning, you're wanting to have our community members shoulder the cost of a rate increase for a company that is one of the largest revenue-earning companies in our state. At this point, our teachers and our coal miners are making it, as they said, paycheck to paycheck. Ultimately, I have a grandmother. She lives off of her teacher's retirement pension. She lives off of United Mine Workers benefits. My father is a retired principal. My mom is a secretary who works every day at one of our local high schools. My dad has basically told me, if you would like to pay me back for sending you through law school, you will get my electric bills reduced and you will try to save my pension. So at this point, I'd just like to say that if this rate increase is determined by the facts, obviously, this is a community that we just can't bear this at this point. My mom and dad, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, some months their electric bills exceed their mortgage payments. Now, I'm sure I can't attribute that to my dad's business savvy and choosing a good interest rate with a bank. At this point, you're having people who, we just received property taxes in the mail. With our car taxes, they're having to choose between, as others say, and I will defer to what they've said previously about paying for medications and things of that nature. But I just want to basically express my opinion here today in saying that I feel like it's going to be a very long winter for a lot of people if something's not done and this rate is not rejected. As I said, the bedrock of our community, our teachers, our coal miners, and being one of the lowest poverty levels in the state, I just don't feel like it's fair, just, or reasonable that these rates be shouldered on our people.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Patricia Stacy.
Commissioners, my name is Patricia Stacy, and I'm from Hardy, Kentucky. That's over in Pike County. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not anything, a dentist, except the person who lives on retirement, and you try to make it from month to month. What these officials are telling you is true. You don't buy this one month so that you can get your medicine, or you don't go to the store and buy all the stuff you need because you got to pay your power bill. Every time that I go to bed, when it gets dark, there's no lights on in my house. If I'm away from home right now, everything is turned off in my house except the refrigerator because I can't afford the electricity. It's just too much on us poor people, and we are poor. And it's not because we want to be. It's just the way the situation is of the world and the counties and the companies. Now, I retired from Disney, and I know what big corporations do. And I know they want to pay their big people big money while the guy that's out there doing the grunt work gets nothing. Well, that's the way I feel this Kentucky Power is trying to do to all of us here in eastern Kentucky. We grunted, we worked hard, and yeah, we build them up. And I own stock, and I don't get a dividend really big like I would get all the time, but I get some ever so often. But I just want you all to know my opinion and how I feel about it, and I know there's several other people that I've talked with. We just don't like it. It's not fair, it's not right, and it's not just. And thank you.
Phyllis McKinney.
Well, I'm glad to see y'all here and trying to do something about all this mess with the power company. And our electric bill seems like keeps going up and up and up, and we've done everything we can to our little home at Martin, Kentucky to try to cut the electric bill down, but it don't go down much. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people from Martin would be here if, they were able to come. But that's a small town, and most all people are on set incomes. And I talked to a lot of people, and they worried, is their electric bill going to be able to them continue to pay it or whatever. And I'd like to see this voted down 110% because we don't need it. And just like this one gentleman said, that when he seen he was losing his job, he had asked the AEP why was they losing their jobs. Well, because natural gas is cheaper. So what happened to that? I think they're just wanting to put more and more and more in their pocket, and they're not worrying about us. I'd like to see one of them try to live off of our set income. Like I'm supposed to go to the doctor once a month. I can't afford it. I go when I get down to where I have to go. And I know the power company, AEP, they don't like to hear from the public. But I think the public should come out in every way more and more and more, whether it be contact them by email, send them letters or whatever, because this has to stop. And I want to thank everybody that's come out here tonight to speak, because I've been listening to them, and they've done a great job. They're all behind us on this, and thank you very much.
Mark McKinney.
How y'all this evening? My name's Mark McKinney. I live here in Floyd County over in the city of Martin. And, you know, like my mother said, you know, so many people are struggling and everything. And I've done a lot, to, like she said, to our home, trying to winterize it and get it prepared. And which we did, you know, save a little on our recent bill and all. But hearing about all this and everything, here it is, possibly may go back up. And everybody here in this county is struggling so hard, and we don't need it. Now, if it continues to go up, I mean, what are they going to do when nobody can afford electricity? They'll have to go out of business. And they need to think about that. And if they can take corporate jets to area that they could simply drive to that's not that far, if they can afford to go overseas on these extravagant trips and everything, then personally, I think the problem lies with, you know, Kentucky Power's executives and chairmen. They need to me, take a decrease their own self and see how the poor people live. And it's just ridiculous. You know, they want to just drain and drain and drain the people in this region. There's going to come a time we ain't going to be able to handle it. And the next thing you know, like I said before, it's just all going to bottom out. And then what are they going to do then? And, I mean, everything was said here tonight is, I mean, I had planned to talk about it myself, and, you know, from Judge Executive being held to the, you know, Senator Jones and them, they've covered everything. You know, and I thank them for it. Thank you all for it. But, you know, speaking as a person that's on fixed income themselves and can sometimes have to juggle between what bill to pay and what you can't pay, it's hard to do. So, I mean, I strongly myself oppose them wanting this rate increase, and I strongly urge you all to take everything being said here tonight for this region into consideration and vote it down. They don't need it. And if they can afford everything like they can do on these trips and everything, then they can afford to take a cut their own self, and maybe them taking their own cut, maybe they might be able to afford things in their own company better. I appreciate y'all's time tonight. Thank you.
Gerald Robinson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad.
Byron Lafferty.
Hello, my name's Brian Lafferty. I live in Prestonsburg, Kentucky here. I represent the people that has been victimized by this war on coal that our officials spoke of. I worked in coal in Martin, Kentucky here, and had to leave that profession to come back to school to Big Sandy here and get 2 degrees, Moorhead, and then law school. Just graduated out of law school. And rather than moving from Floyd County with the coal, I would rather stay in Floyd County. And I represent the people of Floyd County that are trying to live here, trying to stay in Floyd County because it's where our home and where we've been, and trying to raise a family. And it's tough enough right now with the property taxes that skyrocketed, the garbage bills that's went up, the insurance taxes now coming on us, and we just can't afford any more. AEP just got a rate increase not long ago, and we're doing good to make ends meet right now and meet those bills. A lot of the people in Floyd County are dependent upon LIHEAP and programs like that to get help, as it is. I hear a lot about the rate of returns for your stockholders. What about the rate of return on somebody that wants to stay in the mountains and raise a family in Floyd County and not be ran out because the coal companies are leaving and because we don't want to move and uproot our families? We deserve the opportunity to live in Floyd County, and we deserve the opportunity to have fair, just, reasonable electric bills. Right now, I don't even know if they're reasonable for most people. We can't even afford ours sometimes as it is, trying to raise a family. It's too high as it is. There's no way that these people that's on fixed incomes can make ends meet There's no way that people that's sitting here trying to diversify themselves out of the coal companies and come back and raise a family and get an education and do something to stay home, there's no way that we can absorb another hit like this. Another 15% now, another 15% then. We can't take any more. We're to our breaking point right now. And I'm asking you to please find this unjust, unreasonable, and unfair. It's unconscionable to ask the people of Floyd County that already can't pay their bills as it is to take a 15% rate increase. Thank you.
Joey Collins.
Hello, I'm Joey Collins. I'm from McDowell, Kentucky. I want to thank you for being here and allowing us to speak to you. And what I'm going to just go ahead and ask you up front is just tell them no. Absolutely not, and it can't happen, and I'll tell you why. See, I go out, I visit a lot of people. I go door to door. I speak to people out in public. They tell me the struggles they're having. There's a family who wants me to tell you right now they are sick and tired of living on potted meat and crackers all month so that they can pay their utilities and scrape enough money together to buy their prescriptions. They're tired of that. They know that things could be done to make it better for their life. They live on a fixed income. There's other people that have wanted me to come here and tell you about if it wasn't for the senior citizen centers opening their doors and feeding them a meal once a day or delivering a meal to them that are shut in, they would go without food the entire month. If those same senior citizen centers didn't offer them a box of free food every month, they wouldn't have no food because they have to pay their electric bills, all their other utilities, and still try to make up enough money to buy their prescription. So I'm asking you, don't do it. Don't let it happen. We can't afford it. Thank you.
Jeannie Lane.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Lane. I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, if you all would reject the increase that AEP has asked for. It's just like everyone has said here tonight. The people here in the surrounding counties, Pike, Floyd, Johnson, Letcher, they all are struggling just to make, the present bills that are out there that are, in my mind, outrageous. I am returning to Pikeville, Kentucky after living in 4 different states over the last 14 years. And in none of those states have I ever encountered paying a utility bill, such as the people are paying in particularly Pike County, Kentucky. It's just outrageous. As the public officials and other people have said tonight, lots of people have left the areas because they simply just can't afford to live here. It's just like one man said there earlier, what is the goal? Like if we keep raising the rates and people can't pay them and they start, keep leaving the counties, at what point will, AEP or the commission stop and say, this is it? We can never attract business into these communities unless we have a reasonable rate for utilities for people to pay. So I'm asking you if you will consider rejecting the cost that they have, the rate of increase that they have asked for. Also, I worked for a Fortune 500 company myself for over 38 years. When we weren't making money, we cut back on raises, bonuses, we cut jobs, we tied up loose ends where we had to. We quit giving to charitable organizations and we cut expenses in every corner. And that's what we need AEP to do.
Bertha Daniels.
Thank you, and I thank you all not only for the opportunity to speak, but for you all coming in this direction. My name is Bertha Daniels, and I consider myself a community advocate, representing those living on a limited income. I'm also a senior who, fortunately, is able to pay for my own living expenses. Today I can, but who knows what tomorrow brings. You see, I'm still able to work part-time, supplementing my Social Security, and my pension, but who knows for how much longer I'll be able to do that. And I don't have little children around to keep them warm. I can go in, I can put on an extra sweater or throw another blanket on the bed. I spoke on April the 15th, 2015, addressed the Public Service Commission during the Hillbilly Days in Pike County. Now, I understand that it's a new ball game, new commission. I hope you all will not turn that deaf ear. I hope that you can tune in to what effect that any type of rate increase would have on some of the neediest of the population of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, those that you're appointed to serve. When people live on $735 a month and try to eke out a living on that, that comes to $8,820 a year. I heard Paul Ryan's statement today about how tax reform was going to give some relief to the middle class, and that brought to mind to me about what type of relief there would ever be for those who are below, way below that income level of what would be considered middle class. So we're not talking about heating our swimming pools or greenhouses to raise exotic plants. We're talking about life and death decisions, heating, cooling, cooking. On October the 21st, we had a food drive here through the Jenny Wiley AARP chapter where we were gathering up money and food to make it easier for some of our most vulnerable citizens. That's just what we do here in Eastern Kentucky. We reach out to each other. But tell me, what is fair, just, and reasonable? I read there it said that they were going to change the Big Sandy rider. They were going to change the name of it to the Big Sandy decommissioning. Well, a duck is a duck is a duck. They blew down that Big Sandy number 2 down there. They're going to change number 1 to burn natural gas. I also serve on a board of the David School. That's a non-traditional high school serving some of the highest risk students in Appalachia. They recently went through an energy audit through MESAD. They received an audit running from October of last year through September of this year where their bills were $13,905.79. If this increase goes into effect, their bill will increase to $17,996.31. That's almost $4,100 in a year. So we're talking about young people's lives, people who we can make a difference in their lives by educating them there. Folks, it's up to you all. Don't turn that deaf ear. Do what's right. Do what's fair. Do what's reasonable. Thank you.
Mike Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Mike Howell, and I reside at Staffordsville in Johnson County, and I'm the Executive Director of the Big Sandy Area Community Action Program. So I'm here today representing our Board of Directors, along with the many low-income people that we serve in our 5-county service area. We serve Pike, Floyd, Martin, Magoffin, and Johnson counties. Altogether, AEP has 167,000 clients throughout the 20 counties in their service area. Of that, the Big Sandy region has 64,000 of those clients, which makes up about 38% of their total customers. According to the latest statistics, we have 152,000 people living in the Big Sandy region. Of this amount, 28.68% live below the federal poverty guidelines. This amounts to 43,600 people living in poverty in our 5 counties. Compare this to Kentucky's rate of 18.6% and the nation's poverty rate of 14.9%. You can easily see that we live in one of the poorest regions in America. The median household income for this region is $29,500 compared to the rest of Kentucky at $42,600 and the U.S. at $53,000. We have 69,500 people receiving Medicaid in our area. We have 13,700 receiving Social Security and 2,969 receiving other pensions. We have 46,000 receiving food stamps and 4,300 infants and children receiving WIC. Again, you can see we live in a poor region. The unemployment rate here for September of 2017 averaged 8%. Floyd County was 6.9%, Johnson 7.2%, McGoffin 12.9%, Martin 6.3%, and Pike 6.7%. This compares to the rest of Kentucky's rate of 4.3% and the nation's rate of 4.1%. McGoffin County has had the highest unemployment rate for the last 5 years. So you can see there's a lot of unemployed people in our area. We have a stagnant economy in this region where the job market offers little promise of employment. Again, we live in a poor area. With AEP asking for what began to be 16.8% rate hike, which I think now is down to around 15%, with the current economy as it is, that's simply out of touch with reality for this region. It's going to be a substantial burden on an already economically distressed area that I don't think our people can stand it. We have a lot of low income, a lot of fixed income. You combine this with all the people that are out of work now, we're simply already unable to pay our bills. They can't afford if they go up. Every year my agency conducts a community needs assessment survey to see what are the most needed things in this region. And our last survey, which was conducted in May of 2017, utility assistance ranked number 1. My agency operates the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, better known as LIHEAP, in this region. During the winter months, people who struggle to have adequate heat in their homes, they look to us for assistance. This past winter, our agency distributed over $2.8 million federal dollars to over 10,000 households in our 5-county area. Of this amount, $1,351,000 of that went directly to AEP on behalf of their low-income customers. This amounted to 46% of the total LIHEAP money that we distributed went to AEP customers. In Pike County alone, which has the highest number of AEP customers in the state, we filled over 3,900 requests for assistance. Here in Floyd County, which has the 3rd highest number of AEP customers, we serve nearly 3,000. These are people who have lost their jobs and can't find work. These are our elderly people, our disabled people. These are our single mothers with small children who may not have heat in their homes if it weren't for assistance from our agency or from some other organizations or churches that are willing to help, who have very limited funds. To ask these people to pay more when they already can't pay without assistance is unthinkable. This year we're expecting no better funding for LIHEAP than we had last year, and probably not as much. This means that a rate increase will severely reduce the number of households that my agency can assist and a lower amount of assistance per family. You know, we in Eastern Kentucky are doing everything possible to increase the educational levels of our people, to improve our health, to establish a strong workforce, and to attract new businesses. But we cannot move forward if we're being continually cut down at the knees. Everybody in this room fights every day for our low-income people. And I appreciate all these folks that have come out today to speak, and again to you folks for being here. But I feel that this is going to be an economic disaster for this region, not only for the low-income people, but for all of our people in this region. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Robert Johns.
Good evening. My name is Robert Johns, and I live in Paintsville, Kentucky, and I'm a Kentucky Power customer there. I'm also the director of the Appalachian Research and Defense Fund of Kentucky, better known as Apple Red Legal Aid. We're the civil legal aid program that provides free legal services to low-income people and vulnerable people in 37 eastern Kentucky counties. Of the 20 counties that Kentucky Power has customers in, we serve 13 of those counties, and they are Breathitt, Clay, Floyd, Johnson, Knott, Lawrence, Leslie, Letcher, Magoffin, Martin, Owsley, Perry, and Pike. We wanted to take this opportunity to provide some information about those counties and some information about the potential impact of this rate increase on our client community. Poverty rates in those 13 counties range from 25% to a high of 40% in Clay County. These poverty rates are about double the Kentucky and U.S. poverty rates. And as others have referenced, and I'm sure you're aware of, this is one of the poorest regions in the United States. Many people are already living on the edge. The housing cost burdened rates are high as well. Being housing cost burdened is defined as paying over 30% of your income for housing costs, including utilities. The housing cost burdened rates in those counties, those 13 counties, range from 20% to a high of 33% in Martin County. When you look at just households that rent, the rates for being housing cost burdened exceed 50%. So a large percentage of the residents in these counties are already housing cost burdened, which impacts their ability to pay for other necessities. The disability rates in these counties range from 25% to a high of 34% in Breathitt and Owsley counties. These disability rates are as much as double the Kentucky rate and almost triple the national rate. And that's important because, as others have mentioned, those on fixed incomes, like the disabled, like senior citizens, are very much impacted by this kind of significant rate increase. It is overwhelming for those that are on fixed incomes. So this rate increase will add another financial burden for many Eastern Kentucky folks who simply cannot afford it. We hear regularly from clients about the fact that they do not have enough money to pay for all of their needs. And as many of the other speakers have mentioned, these folks are faced with heart-wrenching choices on a daily basis about what to pay for. Do you pay for your rent or mortgage? Do you pay for your prescriptions? Or do you pay for food, or do you pay for utilities to keep the lights on and the heat on? They are faced with those kind of decisions every day, and this rate increase will make matters worse and make the situation more difficult. So Eastern Kentucky simply cannot handle another rate increase of this magnitude. The increase would bring more pain to an area that is already suffering. So we would ask that the Commission deny this rate increase, and I want to say to the Commission, thank you very much for being here and listening to the concerns of these folks. Thank you.
Dale Hamilton. Hamilton, not here. Dan Bell.
Well, first I'd like to thank you for being here and letting us speak our voice. I guess about everything's been said, but I thought maybe I can add something to it. Certainly, I'm not on the fringe of deciding between medicine and heat. I'd really appreciate AEP a lot because, when it gets cold, that's the only source I have, and I do buy firewood, so I've got some firewood this winter. But so I really appreciate having AEP. I don't agree with the rate increase, but maybe I can just comment on letting you know how it kind of affects me as an individual that will have no trouble absorbing the rate increase. Well, when I one of your last speakers said it affects, I think some of the people in poverty and everyone. Well, my mindset is like, well, I've kind of already compensated for you guys over the years because I bought a Ricard Summer Breeze box that I've used over the years, 10-year warranty. It's kind of like a Bob Vila competitor, but it's made in Germany, and I use my box a lot. And yeah, I set my heat a few years ago to 55. I have no trouble sleeping at 55. Most people can't do that. I'm getting a little older, so I put it up at 60, and if it gets a little hotter, I had my box in my bedroom. It's like, man, I'm waking up, I can't sleep, it's at 61. So, but most people can't, do that. So if you do the rate increase, I'll probably, stomach it and put it back to 55. But my mindset is I hear this advertisement, local furniture, local business, buy new furniture here, buy this new car. I don't even think that way. My mindset is, no, I've got to pay more to AEP. I've got more bills. I've got more property insurance. I've got more homeowners, insurance. I've got, it's like, man, things keep going up, and real income's been going down for at least 20, maybe 30 years. The $2,000 I spent in 1989 goes a lot farther than, $2,000 now. You need maybe, I don't know, a lot more than 2,000, but the dollar wasn't as strong as I don't think, as it was back in the early 90s. And so what it's going to do to people who can't absorb it, I think, is it's just going to change their behavior. I'm not going to buy the new furniture. I'm not going to promote growth in the local area. I'm not going to buy the new car. I drove a 92 Corolla for 9 years. I got it out at Sterling Auction, and it's the best car I've ever owned, and got it with put $150,000. I gave it away when it had $260. So I'll probably drive my one that's paid for another 15 or 20 years. That's what it does to me. It's if I'm going to have to shell out the extra bucks, I'm going to find ways to kind of compensate for it the best I can. So I don't know if other people do that or not that are like me. They may. I think a lot of them do. I talk, and they find ways to. They say the millionaire next door doesn't drive a Mercedes-Benz. People find ways to be thrifty and save money. And yeah, I'll go get me another pair of long underwear at Walmart, and I'll turn it down to 55, and I won't have any trouble. But I've never probably haven't felt the rate increases over the years, but it does affect me in other ways. My mindset is I don't have money for other things. And if you want the local area and the community to grow, then you need people to spend money. But it's not going to happen from me. But again, I do appreciate having the power. I'm glad you're there because, it gets cold sometimes in those winters. Thank you.
Michael Newsom.
I also would like to thank you for the opportunity, and I'm not a public speaker. I'm not anyone great. I come here because I'm just, again, my name's Mike Newsom. I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky, and I own a car wash in Regina, Kentucky. I own a small construction company out of Pikeville, and when I see and I read about the increases in the paper, a lot of things come to my mind, and I'm thankful for my representatives, and I came here to say I'm one of them. And I look at my car wash, and I look at my expenses. My biggest expense is electricity, not water, not chemicals, not anything other than electricity. And I look at, I've lost customers. That's why I need a rate increase. So I've lost those same customers. My profits was once here, and I'm also down. Now I see my profits are going to be taken even more, and I'm listening to everyone. The evidence to me was already given a long time ago in my mind on the denial. I'll be honest, I talk to my employees, I talk to my community. I'm also a pastor over just outside of Pikeville. I talked to my community, and they all said, "Why are you going? There's no point in it. They're not going to hear you. They don't know you, so no offense to you." But that's how the community feels. They feel, what's the point? They said, you know what they're going to do? They're going to give them half. That's what everybody that I spoke to. They're just going to give them half. They think that it appeases the people, and it appeases AEP. I got news. There's plenty of ways. On my construction company, if I leave my men, my 6 to 8 men, you know what they do? They start talking, and they all stand around. And I don't get mad. I understand that that's human nature. What's the incentive if every time AEP comes and says, give us money, and we just shell it out? What's the incentive to go to management and make your company lean? How many times do I drive and I see 3 trucks on the side of the road, I see 8 workers talking, and 1 guy doing something? I don't blame the workers. I have workers. That is their nature. But instead of me having to pay, I've lost too. So now I'm supposed to lose more money. Instead, where's the incentive to make your company better? I wish that I could just, you know what, go to my car wash, change all my stickers and say, $2 now. Now, you used to pay $1 for 4 minutes, now pay me $2. Well, guess what? I don't have a choice. I have to buy electricity. She has a choice not to go to my car wash. My construction company, when everyone's losing money, guess what? Now they don't want to remodel their homes. Now they don't want to buy new homes. I'm just here just trying to show you these aren't just statistics. The evidence was given. The people who, I feel horrible for the people who can't afford to heat. Do I heat my home? Do I pay for medicine? It's on every spectrum. We're beaten down, and we've already paid out so much. We just want someone to hear us. And look, I have to give business proposals if I want to buy a business. I had to buy my car wash. Guess what? I can write up something real fancy I found with not much education. I can give me your business plan, how you're going to pay for it. AEP can write it up however pretty they want to present it. I got news. They're making their profits. They've already made them, and we want someone to stand up for us, and half of it isn't standing up for us. I would love to be here on the reverse side saying we need to decrease how much I've already paid. I've paid enough. I've given enough, and I'm counting on you guys to look at the evidence and stand up for us. And I thank you.
Jordan Gibson.
My name is Jordan Gibson. I live in Pikeville, and I also represent Southeast Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. I'm president there. And I'm not here to support the rate increase. I'm not here to oppose it. Personally, I pay those bills too. I don't want an increase. But part of me up here talking today is to talk about the economic development surcharge that we pay on our bills. Right now it's 15%. I believe the proposal is to increase that to 25 cents. Sorry, not 15%, 15 cents per bill, increase to 25 cents. A lot of that money is given out in our communities. I represent 8 counties in eastern Kentucky. And across those counties, the KPEG grants are used to help support our industrial parks and help support our education of economic development. Part of the reason that we're here today in the situation we're in, decline in industry, decline in jobs, what we're trying to do with the chambers and with economic development organizations is to attract new businesses, create new jobs, bring in industry, and give AEP their customers back. That's why they're trying to do it, and that's what we're trying to do too. And the money that is awarded through those KPEG grants is specifically for promoting our industrial parks, improving the industrial parks that we've got, and giving us the ability to be out and be visible and be marketable to outside industries to come in and give our citizens jobs. Just last week, $100,000 in KPEG money was awarded to the City of Pikeville for their Kentucky Enterprise Park. Money that was used on geotechnical studies to survey the land. That's an old abandoned mine site. It's got fill dirt in it. We need to make sure that that land is usable and can sustain a manufacturing facility. just like anybody else, our city governments and our businesses can't afford the cost of those studies. The money that is awarded and paid for by our customers, $300,000 paid for by the customers of AEP, goes into this fund. The other $300,000 is matched. They're wanting to raise that money up to $1 million a year through their rate increase to be able to afford to do more things like that, to help support more economic development. So as the one who represents businesses of Eastern Kentucky, that money goes a long way. I do not support the rate increase, and that's not why I'm here, but I am here to support economic development efforts in our region and help support bringing more industries, creating more jobs in our area so that we can afford the bills, so that maybe no longer our people are impoverished, but they have a job to go to every day and they have income coming in. And so that's why I'm here to support the KPEG grants and the funding that they do. So thank you.
Lon Castle.
My name's Lon Castle. I'm from Bel Air, Kentucky. What I wanted to talk about 2 months ago, I watched a documentary when Kentucky Power said that it was cheaper on them to burn gas than it was coal. If that's the situation, they've cut their expenses. Why do they need a raise? I've got a son that lives in Georgetown. My my electric, month before last, was $249, and that's in the summertime. His house is more than double the square footage I've got, and his bill was $89. So you tell me how they justify this. If you got a man making over $11 million a year, and you've got corporate jets going back and forth to Europe, he should be able to manage it a little better.
Charles Sexton.
I were to say, and I'm like Chris, I've got to raise this up a little bit. There we go. Most people know me as Chuck instead of Charles. Judge Hale just pointed that out. I'm president and CEO of One East Kentucky. I want to piggyback a little bit off of what Jordan Gibson just said. I don't want to reiterate any of that because he did a good job of talking about the KPEG funding, what it's used for, but I want to add to that a little bit. And for those of you who don't know, One East Kentucky covers 9 counties here in Eastern Kentucky. I wake up every day thinking about the people who don't have jobs. That's my job, is to think about them and to think about how we strategically move this region forward, build capacity for new companies to come into this region, and actually go out and recruit and talk to those companies and tell them why Eastern Kentucky is a great place, because we have the best people in the world. We have the hardest workers here. This economic development funding and the assistance that AEP provides is extremely helpful in what we do. I'm a ratepayer. I'm not a fan of paying more, but I am a fan of having a power company that's supportive of economic development efforts. Because I do this every day, I live and breathe it. I have to compete against Tennessee, South Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, to try to get companies to just take a look at Eastern Kentucky. And South Carolina Power, TVA, all these other power companies are just pouring millions into economic development. And we have to compete against that. And so I greatly appreciate the efforts that Kentucky Power has put into economic development. A couple of things really quick. Logan Corporation, 18 months ago, had just 15 employees. Because of some of the efforts that AEP provided and some of that grant funding, they were able to get a new facility, move to Salyersville, Magoffin County, which had the highest unemployment in the state at the time, still does today. And now they're close to 70 full-time employees. Thoroughbred Aviation Maintenance is located in Martin County, and it was a direct result of AEP funding and that grant funding. So while obviously as a ratepayer, a wife who's a school teacher, and in the school system working with these kids every day, we're in a dire situation. but I do want to make sure that the Public Service Commission understands that the economic development efforts that AEP Kentucky Power is supporting are valid and they're valuable to help bring us out of this recession. Thank you.
Frank Fitzpatrick. Bert Melton.
Yes, I want to thank the commission for giving me time to speak before you today. You know, well, first of all, my name is Bert Melton, and I'm from Pike County, Kentucky, a little place called Kemper, Kentucky. And I've been the first word I want to use is exploitation, because I think it's real appropriate here after I listen to all these people speak. And myself, I was a coal miner, actual coal miner underground for 13 and a half years. And then I was elected as a field rep for the United Mine Workers of America. Then I was elected district executive board member for southeastern Kentucky and southwest West Virginia. I know what it is when people are exploited the way our people have been exploited. You go all the way back to the 20s and 30s when these land holding companies came in here and purchased our mineral rights from our ancestors. Our ancestors, most of them, 90% of us come from Scots and Irish. People who had decided when they got off the boat that wasn't the place for them, so they journeyed out in the wilderness and they come up on the Appalachian Mountains. And they lived their lives out in there, and they owned the property. And then these, like I said, these coal companies or these land holding companies come in here and said, we don't want your property, we don't want your land, we just want what's underneath it. We're going to give you 25 cents an acre. Well, that's a lot of money for those people back then. To say, well, I get to keep my land, I don't know, I don't need that, what's underneath that land. But it was exploitation. It's always been that way in eastern Kentucky. Give you a good example. A lot of people think that the company stores was a thing of the past, like back in the 40s and 50s. But I can tell you right now, I worked at a mine, and I'm 60 years old. I worked at Kentland Elkhorn, which probably had the last company store on record. And now they didn't force people to buy groceries there, but when they got their hooks in them, they were charging them 3 times the amount of what it would cost at another grocery store. But if you didn't have the money, a lot of those coal miners would end up owing the coal company when their payday came due. They would owe the coal company. And that was in the 70s. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we have been exploited. All of our generations have. And it looks like we're always going to have to fight this exploitation. I've fought it. I've been arrested for laying in the road in Virginia, fighting coal companies who were trying to take our jobs away from us. But I'm going to tell you something. The United Mine Workers gave me opportunity. When I was working in the coal mines, I went to school 4 nights a week, right down here at Prestonsburg Community College. I went 4 nights a week from 6 o'clock to 8:30, Monday through Thursday. I worked 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours or 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then 8 hours on Saturday. But I had opportunity. And we wonder why our people are on drugs, our young people and stuff like that, because they have no opportunity. There's no opportunities for them. You know, a lot of these people, you know, you can judge them any way you want to judge them, but at the end of the day, if they had opportunity, we wouldn't have the problem we have with drugs and stuff in our communities. I can guarantee you that. It's like, you know, when you get a hopeless feeling about you, and you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, then you do whatever you do to deal with it. And most people, that's how they deal with it. It's wrong, but that's how they deal with it. But anyway, I just want to tell this committee that, and I hope and pray that One thing I noticed my state representatives was talking about, all the times they come before this commission asking for rate increases. Well, they ask for the rate increases. They don't always get what they ask for, but they cherry pick it enough to know that, hey, I asked for this much, and they'll give me this much. And then next year I'll come back and I'll ask for this much, and they'll give me this much, and then I may not get it in 1 year, but it may take me 3 years to get what I need or what I want. I'm asking you all to really, really, really understand. And Mr. Chairman, I know you're from this part of the country. You know how hard it is on our people. And you know, one thing you might want to consider is that I heard my representative say, well, they went 20 years and never asked for a rate increase. Well, maybe you all ought to turn the tables on them when you meet with them and say, you know what, maybe we need to consider, or you need to consider lowering the rates instead of raising the rates. And maybe we wouldn't have to come back here every year. Maybe it'd be 20 years, maybe it'd be 20 years that we have to come back and deal with them again. Thank you very much.
Donald Barlow.
I think I'll defer. I heard many good things said. I agree with most of them. I don't agree with the idea of the rider that we pay for development, and then AEP gets the credit for it. I'm an old professor at this school, or somebody attended and just said, for 28 years, been teaching 43 years, and I'm 72. I'm not done yet. But this seems to me to be very unfair. I'm not one of those that's going to say or do without medicine. But it's not fair, as far as I can see, for my fellow citizens. So I stand with them and I say, please, after I've heard the statistics from the representative from Pikeville, I couldn't believe how many increases we have had. I knew about the one in 2015. I guess I had kind of forgotten the others. But my goodness, it is time in the sense of fairness and justice to say no. Just say no.
Amy Russell. Corey Russell. It's Amy.
No, it says Amy.
It says Amy. Is there a Corey that wants to speak? Okay. I'm sorry you got identified as Amy. Corey, you don't look like Amy, but...
My name's Corey Russell. First off, I want to start by saying this was the worst poorly advertised meeting I've ever seen. Nobody in Eastern Kentucky knew about this, so I blame that directly on you. Point one, actually, I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about the resident or the commercial industrial park that they talked about in Pikeville, Marion Branch. So they spent $100,000 or so to develop this and go in and do seismographic testing. Well, I previously worked on that site many times. And as you know, our lovely past legislation in the past had said that coal mining must be held to certain extremes. Well, I can promise you that CAM Mining did not leave that property in a situation where you need to spend $100,000 on it to make sure it was okay to build on it. All right, it's very sustainable. Not only am I familiar with that property, I'm actually basically on that property every day because I get the luxury of killing deer really close to it. So I'm a major advocate of that property. It's very needed for Pike County, but we didn't need to waste $100,000 and then let AEP come in and say, oh, we helped. No, you didn't help. You didn't do a damn thing. You come in and said, oh, we're going to give you some money. Well, if you really want to help, put it toward our power bill. I mean, you don't have to hide it and cover it up and say we're going to give you $100,000 on 100% waste, because I did the environmental study on it. I did the headcraft study on it. I did the benthic study on it. I did the jurisdictional determination on it. Well before AEP ever got involved in it, they didn't pay me $100,000 to do it, and their seismographic testing was not needed. Now, I'm going to go to you guys for a minute. This is a frequently asked question on your website, and this is what it says. So in my opinion, frequently asked questions are frequently asked for a reason, because everybody wants to know. And so this is what it says on your website. Why do you, the PSC, not look after the public, since your name is the Public Service Commission? And so your website did an excellent job in articulating a very well response. You said, we do. So all you said is we do. And so this is what really needs to be said, and this is why you don't look after the public. And this is what it says, is why can't I pick the utility I want? Because electric, gas, water, and sewer utilities have been protected service areas and not currently open to competition. But we're looking into it. Well, we've been looking into it for the last 10 years since 2005. So in 2015, you gave them an 8% increase, or actually it was about a 10% increase. So you gave them roughly half of what they got. Now we're going to go back in 18 again, and I'm willing to say right now, mark it down, they will give them half. Write it down. They're going to give them half. And but if you really look at the country we're in right now, there's a pattern of legislation. And so we go as far as we can to the right, or we go as far as we can to the left. And then everybody comes to the middle and they're like, oh, we did something good. No, we didn't. We got exactly what we wanted to begin with. We just made you look like we needed a little more when we really only needed a little less. Well, they went from burning natural gas, or from coal to burning natural gas, which produced 278 megawatts per 1 unit, whereas natural gas produces 268 megawatts per 1 unit. That's roughly a 0.35% decrease in production, yet they need 16% increase in revenue. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Give me a friggin' break here, really. So, what you did in 2015, you said it wasn't just to give you a 16% increase. Okay, well, now in 2018, you're saying, well, maybe we'll look at it again. If it wasn't just to give them 16 3 years ago, when our economy is hurting more than it's ever hurt, why is it just to now bring them back to the 16 that they currently asked for 3 years ago? That's how we legislate in our country today. And unfortunately, until we get to a point to where we're going to change that, nothing's ever going to change. Now, I'll leave something with you guys. Everybody's coming up here and they're thanking you. I'm very unthankful for you guys. You haven't done a damn thing for our town. For 5 years in a row, you've allowed 5 increases in power. We are losing money. We can't thank it. Now, I'll tell you what I will do. As of December the 7th, 8th, and 9th, I will be the first person to thank you exactly to your face. I'll walk in the courtroom, I'll shake your hand, and I'll tell you what an awesome job you've done, and I'm going to hold you to that. I'm not asking you to deny this. I am demanding you to deny this. This is ridiculous that it's come to the table, and it will continue to do this until competition drives down profit. And it's the bottom line. That's the problem, the reason why we're here. If you can't see that and we're foolish enough to not get past this, then next year we'll come in here and we'll do this again. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Katrina Vargo. Molly McGuire.
I guess as short as Angie Hatton. You know what? I wish I had Facebook friends that I could have seen them flying out to Paris out there to that air show or whatever. I don't have that kind of friends. I'm not that kind of person. I don't know that kind of people. But I do know how to use the internet. And I looked up some stuff on the internet. And did you know that from 2012 to 2016, that Nicholas Atkins, the chairman of the board and the chief executive officer, received a 57% pay increase. 57%. Now, I don't know about you on Social Security. You get your what, 1.5% a year. Sometimes you get 3%. Nothing in 4 years. Well, Mr. Atkins got 57%. He went from $7 million to $11.4 million. David Feinberg, the executive vice president and general counsel, I guess that means he's a lawyer, he got a 70% increase over the same time period. Corporate greed. Now, you guys are the Public Service Commission, and I don't know a lot about how things work, but I do know that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if nobody's looking, and you guys are down there and nobody's speaking up, and then you just take their word and you just give them the pay increases that they ask for, I don't blame you. You know, if nobody's complaining, and they show papers that they need these increases, you're going to give them to them. But I'm here to tell you that I don't think in the 29 years I worked that I ever, over a 4-year period, received a 57% pay increase. Now that's over 4 years. I started teaching, I made $11,000 a year. I ain't going to tell you what year I started, but I'm retired. 57%. Now, I don't know about all the other waste, but I'm sure that there's a lot of waste. I'm sure there's a hell of a lot of waste in that company. And they need to tighten their belts and do away with the rate increase. And I'm not just asking you to say no on this increase. I'm asking you to claw back the 2015 rate increase. Now, the economic development money, 15 cents on my power bill. If I want to make a charitable contribution, I'll make a charitable contribution. And I'll make it to whomever I want to. Personally, I don't believe industrial parks ever do any good. The coal gasification plant in Pike County is now a nursing home. I believe that's a waste of money. I don't think that you should increase them to 25 cents. I think you should take it away, because all it does, and I'm sorry, Mr. Sexton and Mr. Gibson, it just pays your salary. That's it. Let me see. Is there anything else? Now, I guess that's it. I'm asking you to claw back the rate increase from 2015 and to cause Mr. Atkins to have to claw back his pay increases.
Scott Wegenast or Wegenast? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I don't even know if this is the right spelling, so I apologize.
That wasn't bad. Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, thank you so much for letting me take just a minute. I'm Scott Wagner. I'm the Associate State Director for Advocacy and Outreach with AARP Kentucky. We are housed in Louisville, and we're representing our some 26,000 ARP members across the 20-county service district. I'm going to simply submit my written comments pertaining to the case. But I would only just make a couple of brief notes. Across the country, ARP continues to look for opportunities to make sure that rates are adjusted correctly, fairly, and oppose what we think are unjust rate hikes. If customers owe Kentucky Electric Power $17.50 before they even turn their lights on, we're going to oppose this rate increase. So, in short, we would just join in with the other interveners and the public comment tonight and urge you to review and reject this rate increase by Kentucky Power. I want to thank you all for your time, and I'm going to leave my remarks with the staff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gary Brown.
I'm Gary Brown. I have a dental practice in Paintsville, and I live here in Prestonsburg. I'm an AEP customer in both places. Just want to have this come at you all from a little different point of view than what's been heard, although what's been said is very accurate, I think, to practicing dentistry for 35 years now in Paintsville. I've seen the good and the bad. When I first got into town, Martiki, Pontiki, Martin County Coal, we had plenty of business from the coal-related industry. And AEP is not necessarily responsible for the drop in the coal production or the use maybe. But my fear is what I'm seeing now daily. My patients that I had 20 years ago, 25 years ago with good insurance now come in with medical cards. And the medical cards pay 32% of what my actual fees were. That not only puts a burden on me to produce more so that I can pay my rates, but it also, what I see from them is a humility. a fear, too, in the fact that they cannot receive the services they not only became accustomed to, but needed. Right now, if I had a patient, one of those who used to enjoy the luxury of having insurance, come in with a medical card and needed to have an extraction that was beyond my capabilities, and I wanted to send that patient somewhere who I know I could trust get work done, we have only one local oral surgeon who would book that patient in April of next year. Where's the continuity of care? And I'm not talking for the ADA, and heaven knows I'm not the brightest bulb in this room. But I am talking about patients that I have cared for years. And I feel their pain. I'm not the best business person either. Possibly should have left the area when I saw this occurring. But I have love and respect for those people. Rate increases hurt us all. To the point where we can't do the things in life we would like to do. But it takes away from the humility, from the humanity that we are too. Because we can't afford something. We feel more like we're not deserving of other things, or we feel less like the people we are. I came to this area and actually started my practice in Paintsville because it was closer to the golf course. And it was no denying that. But I've learned to love the people of that area. And I know when I rant to them about the no justice, but the unfairness of the fact that they don't have what they need, they can't get what the services they desire, they have to go to Lexington to get things done that we can't provide anymore. I warn them too that when I retire, there'll be nobody comes from the University of Kentucky College of Dentistry or University of Louisville College of Dentistry and come in and work for 32 cents on the dollar they could get by working somewhere else. And that's all because of our love-hate relationship with our coal and our utilities. It's not justified, in my estimation, to ask for a rate increase when I haven't had one in 25 years myself. And I'm not here representing anybody in the medical profession whatsoever, but your medical professionals will soon, or dental professionals anyway, will soon not be here. And you'll have to go to Lexington for simple things. It's not going to happen as this panacea we've had, the comfort we've lived in for years. And I just implore you to do as the other people here. Remember that the people you're representing need your voice to say no to any rate increases right now. Now, it's not lost on me that we get things in the mail too to talk to us about how we could reduce our bills in our homes. And, by more insulation or different wiring, turning on lights and things, or turning them off. But that would be meaning they would be losing their business, thus making them more likely to want to come and get another rate increase. It's kind of dog chasing the tail. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the help you've been to me before. And I appreciate your coming.
I'm not sure about this next gentleman's name. It may be Steve Pence or Steve Spears.
We want to thank you for coming. Over probably 10 years ago or so, AEP come wanting a raise because of the price of fuel was over $4 a gallon. Coal business is good. Price of fuel is $4 a gallon. They got this raise. Now, in the last 8 years or so, price of gas is $2.50 a gallon. What's happened to this? Did we ever get any money back? Have you all called them up and say, hey, look, price of fuel's down. We need to cut you all's percentage that we give you all? Nobody's ever done nothing. They still got their money. The only thing I'm saying is, when is enough profit enough? Is $1 million enough profit anymore? Does it take 20 million, 20 trillion? I mean, somewhere it's got to stop. Enough profit's enough profit. I mean, like I said, coal business is gone. Community's gone. You know, like I say, price of fuel's down. There's no excuse for no more raises. Thank you.
Ralph Mullins.
My name is Ralph Mullins. I'm from Dorton, Kentucky in Pike County, and I really didn't come down here to speak. I rode down with my state representative, Angie Hatton, 45, 50 miles down this way. And the first I want to address the size of the crowd. You folks may think that people don't care about this increase. The power bill is due the first of next week, and most of the people can't afford the power bill and the gas to get down here to talk to you people in person. That's why the crowd is not as big as it should be. I've got a couple of statements and a couple of questions that I want you folks to ask yourselves and ask the power company. I wrote this sitting back there in the crowd. I didn't plan on speaking, but I wrote it down on my knee, and I'm going to read it to you if I can read my own writing. The Kentucky Power Company was advised years ago by the federal government, Environmental Protection Agency, to install scrubbers and other pollution devices and did nothing. Why should Eastern Kentucky people pay for their short-sightedness? Why should we pay for the things that they were told to do by the Federal Environmental Protection Agency 15 or 20 years ago? I hauled coal. I listened to the radio. It was talked about many years ago. Did some of our federal politicians tell them they didn't need to worry about that they'd take care of the coal industry? That's probably what happened. Why did the Kentucky Power Company not save the coal-fired plant and the many coal jobs therein? Why didn't they save that? They're talking about losing customers now. You know why they're losing customers? Because people here don't have jobs and they're proud and they want to feed their families and they're leaving here. That's why Kentucky Power Company is losing customers. I can't hardly read my own writing, but I'm going to look at it anyway. Kentucky Power's actions have directly caused the many customers who worked in the coal industry to leave the area, and now they use none of their power. That is part of the problem, and them buying a natural gas power plant in West Virginia that's already been paid for and then asking Kentucky customers to pay for that. I ask that you all deny this increase entirely because we cannot afford to keep paying for their mistakes. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mullins was the last person who signed up, but if there's anyone else here now who didn't sign up but would like to speak, please feel free to come forward, and we'd love to hear from you. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Goebel. I'm from Johnson County, and I work with a program that helps senior citizens get jobs. And you might say, well, why would a senior citizen want a job? They've worked all their life, they've retired, Social Security is going to take care of them now. Well, they find out that their power bills are so high now that they've got to find some way to get this extra income. This is people, I have people on my program who have cancer, who have heart disease, who have all kinds of physical ailments, but they find themselves out now searching for a job in an area where it's economically inviable because there's no jobs here hardly. And they're out beating the bushes looking for work so they can pay that electric bill. They're lucky they tell me every day, they're lucky to have food. They're lucky to be able to go to the doctor and get their medicine. I talked to a lady yesterday who finds herself living off very low income, and what she told me about the electric increase was $5 is $5. If you don't have $5, you can't pay it, and she didn't have the $5. So we need to think about that before we raise any more rates on these people. Give them a break. They need a chance to survive. Thank you.
Anyone else? Judge, you'd like to speak or say something else?
Just make sure there's not anybody else that's want to speak.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to close then. I would just like to thank you guys for coming here because it was important. We need more of these. We need them spread out a little bit further, just like so the people can attend this. But we appreciate you coming and listening, letting us give you our thoughts on this because this is one of the most important things that's going on right now, 16%. And I would ask you to do a couple things is to kind of investigate a little bit about these consent decrees because it's my understanding at one time there was a consent decree that was signed by the AEP that in 2007 that they had no intentions of keeping that plant open come 2015. If that is true, then they knew when the deregulation that went on in Ohio and there was a deregulation that happened, then they knew that they was trying to get their power from Moundsville over into Kentucky at a regulated rate in order for them to keep them maintain the profits and to streamline their cost. So kind of look back on some of this and delve into, because it's my understanding that AEP never really said that to the PSC before that they had a consent decree back in 2007. And I know you guys are not always been here at the commission, and so kind of look into this, keep delving into it. Listen, take everything that we say because this is coming truly from everybody's heart. And we appreciate you coming here into Floyd County. I wish that it was in Pike County and other places, but there is two more that's going to be here, one in Ashland and one in Hazard. So people can go there if they would like. I know that some of them was aggravated because it was not advertised enough. Believe me, I've been screaming from the mountaintop, and our local paper has been talking about it. We don't get quite all broad circulation that some of these statewide papers do, but we appreciate you. Thank you so much. I know you're from here, Mr. Cicero and Miss Matthews. We appreciate you coming up and listening. Sometimes we get a little long-winded. I think I'm getting a little long-winded now. I'm going to close this off and let everybody go, and hopefully this will there will be a 0% increase for our people in Eastern Kentucky.
As commissioners, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out. You know, I guess there are standards by which these meetings are advertised, and we really don't have anything to do with that, but I guess in the future maybe we ought to solicit radio stations, local television and networks and everything else perhaps to maybe get the word broadcast a little better than it was. But we are glad that you came out. We take everything that you have said and we'll take it into consideration. As we mentioned at the first of the meeting, their representatives of the Public Service Commission staff are here to speak with you and answer any questions procedurally that you may have. I don't know anyone from Kentucky Power Company, but it's said here someone from Kentucky Power is here over on the, oh, okay, I see you guys on this side now. But Kentucky Power Company has representatives here, and I'd encourage you to basically ask any questions you may have of them or provide them with any additional comments that you may have. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.